All right, today we're putting on our detective hats for a case that's been cold for, about 2,500 years. It all starts with a question that seems so incredibly simple, you've probably never even stopped to think about it. But trust me, it's so deep, it has had some of the greatest thinkers in history scratching their heads.
That's it. That's the whole mystery. I mean, really think about it. Look at two coffee mugs that seem identical, or think about your car today versus your car yesterday. Or, hey, even you right now versus you in an old photograph. What does it actually mean for something to be the very same thing? This isn't just some late-night dorm room question. It has a proper name, the problem of individuation. It's the official philosophical quest to pin down, once and for all, the rules for what makes any one thing a unique, single individual. And our investigation? It starts way back in ancient Greece. So our first detective on the scene is none other than the man himself, Aristotle. He took a look at the world around him and had this incredible insight. He realized that when we say two things are the same, we're usually talking about two completely different ideas. And he broke it down brilliantly. On one hand, you've got what he called numerical sameness. This is you and only you. There's just one of you, numerically speaking. But then there's sameness in kind. See, you and I are the same because we're both human. Two brand new phones are the same kind of thing, but they are absolutely not the exact same physical object. And for Aristotle, the secret sauce of uniqueness, what made you you and not just another person, wasn't some abstract idea like your soul or your form. Nope, it was your physical stuff, your matter. A beautifully simple physical answer to a really, really deep question. Okay, let's fast forward about 2,000 years. We're in the 17th century now, and a philosopher named Gottfried Leibniz just isn't satisfied with Aristotle's answer. He wanted something more, universal, an ironclad law of identity. He wanted the perfect test. And boy, did he come up with something. It's called the principle of the Identity of Indiscernibles, and it is a powerhouse of an idea. It basically says this. If you have two things, and you can't find a single, tiny property that's different between them, not one, then you're not actually looking at two things. You're looking at one thing twice. And Leibniz was totally convinced of this. For him, this wasn't just a clever thought experiment. He believed it was a fundamental law of how reality works. As he puts it right here, nature just doesn't do perfect copies. There's always something different, even if it's just their location in space and time. So, this is his test in action. It's pretty straightforward, right? You take object A, you list out every single one of its properties. Its color, its weight, its location, its history, the whole shebang. Then you do the same for object B. If those two lists match perfectly, Leibniz says, boom, you've proven they're the same object. Case closed. Or is it? Because just when we think the case is solved, along comes the big plot twist. In the late 19th century, a logician named Gottlob Frege comes along and completely flips the script. He argued that we've been looking in the wrong place. We shouldn't just be looking at things. We need to look at the language we use to talk about them. So Frege starts with something really simple. A equals A. I mean, yeah, it's true, but it's also completely boring. It doesn't teach us anything new about the world. It's a statement of logic, not a discovery. But now, look at this statement. For centuries, people looked up at the sky and thought the morning star and the evening star were two totally different things. The discovery that they were both, in fact, the planet Venus, that was a huge astronomical breakthrough. So what's the difference? Why is one a discovery and the other just obvious? Because here we have two different names, two different signs that are pointing to the exact same object. The new knowledge isn't in the planet Venus itself. It's in our realization that these two different labels we were using refer to the very same thing. Suddenly, the problem of sameness becomes a problem of meaning. And that idea that language is part of the puzzle, whoa, that just blew the doors wide open. In the 20th century, philosophers started to realize that the neat, tidy rules of the past just might not cut it. The real world and our identity in it is a lot messier. So we're back where we started. You hold up two things, and you ask the original question, are they the same? But modern philosophy, thanks to thinkers like Peter Geach, immediately fires back with a much better question. The same what? This is the absolute core of relative identity. The theory argues that there's no such thing as just sameness in a vacuum. Identity is always relative to the kind of thing you're asking about. Here's the classic example. Imagine a sculptor takes a lump of clay and makes a beautiful statue. Then they squash it and remold it into a vase. Now, ask the questions. Is it the same lump of clay? Well, yeah, the physical matter is identical. But is it the same statue? No way, it's not a statue anymore. Sameness depends entirely on whether you're asking about the clay or the statue.
So this brings us to a kind of modern split in how we think about this. On one side, you have the abstract, in theory idea of what makes a thing unique in and of itself. But on the other side, you have how we actually identify things in the real world, based on what we know and what we can see. It's theory versus practice.
And this is where things get really, really wild. This leads to this concept of the abstraction of identification. And this theory suggests that maybe sameness isn't always something we discover out there in the world. Sometimes it's something we create. It's a tool that we invent and use when we decide to treat different things as if they were identical, all to achieve a specific goal. Just think about it for a second. When a scientist says two data points are the same, they're often deliberately ignoring tiny, irrelevant differences for the sake of their experiment. They are constructing sameness. The objective, capital T, truth of identity gives way to a practical, subjective tool we use to make sense of everything.
Which leaves us right here. After this whole 2,500-year investigation, from Aristotle's physical matter to Leibniz's perfect copies, to Frege's words, and all the way to modern relativity, the final question is maybe the biggest one of all. Is sameness some fundamental feature of the universe that we're trying to discover, or is it a concept, a tool that we invented to help us understand it all? Now that is something we're thinking about.